moderate with me as well. So between the two of us, we should hopefully be able to keep this long because you know. So this is how it's going to go. Right now we went ahead and we pulled 12 questions out of the basket, and that's where we're going to go ahead and start with. The basket right here. So we accepted questions in emails and on Facebook. We put them on 3x5 cards. People tonight submitted questions as well. We put them in a basket and we wrote 12 of those questions out. We probably will get to 12 questions because we want to stay really clean to about 60 minutes and then we're done. So the gentlemen are spending their time with us and we appreciate that. We don't want to take up too much time this evening. We want to stick to that. So what we're going to do is we will be flipping a coin first off to see who will start the ball rolling. So the first thing is they each get 3 minutes of an introduction. And then from there, the first person that started the introduction, the other candidate will actually start the question. So when we give them a question, the first candidate has 3 minutes, the other candidate will then have 3 minutes. If the first candidate feels that the second candidate said something that he needs to give you more information on, they're allowed 1 minute, and then the second candidate is allowed 1 minute as well. Okay? So we have our friendly Mr. Ron Janis in the back, who is also on our board at Alamitos Beach. Yay. He will be holding up the 2-minute warning, and he will be holding up "You are done." He will help out with the gentleman up here. I know, unfortunately, that's kind of hard to see. So at 2 minutes, there'll be a warning. You have a minute left. Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Okay, so I think I kind of covered it. So we're going to go ahead and let's see. Do I have a point? Yes.
Is there a closing?
Yes, thank you. 3-minute closing for each. So the candidate that didn't start the last question will give you 3 minutes to start the question. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So if you start the last question, you'll start the closing. Okay? 3 minutes each. No 1 minute after that. That's it. Okay? All right, so we're going to go ahead and flip a coin.
Let me get you a chair back here.
No, I told the last time.
I know what happened.
No.
Gary, please.
Yes.
Yes, what?
Oh, I gotta see it in the air.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Otherwise, you Wait, no.
So, John, why don't you go ahead and start with the first question?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, does that mean I go first? Does that mean I get to choose whether or not I go first?
You can choose, but how's that?
I'm going to defer to my good friend, Mr. Loman.
Please, no comments from the audience.
Well, thank you. It's great to be back here in Alamitos Beach. I think this is really where it all started, right here. When I first ran for city council, and then ran for the state assembly and state senate. You know, I think I have really worked really hard, both as an activist and as an elected person, to fight for jobs for the district, to make sure that whatever happens in this district, we clean up the air, that our water quality is cleaned up, that we make sure our educational system works, that we have good governance. You know, I fought for good governance issues, and I really want to go to Congress to finish that. You know, I want to also be part of the team that really looks to protect Social Security, make sure that we can protect Social Security, protect Medicare, protect the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. I think it's really at that point that we really need to make sure that we maintain our commitments. I also strongly support the President's balanced approach to dealing with deficits, to say that we're not going to get rid of regulations or streamline government, but we're not here to throw out regulations. We're not here to do everything based only on cuts. He's offered a major program to go forward to make sure that as we move forward, we have a balanced approach between cuts and additional revenues and taxes, and that those taxes be fairly imposed. Right now, we have a tremendous imbalance with the richest people in our society paying the least amount of their share. So we have to have a balanced approach to taxes. You know, I never give up. You know, when I first started, I walked this district, people told me that there was soot in their windows, that they, what was this? This was 20 years ago. It turned out to be that petroleum coke, and that was in the air. And then when I fought, began to fight for it, people said you can't have economic development, you can't have jobs, you can't have environmental protection. And they fought me and fought me and fought me for years, introducing legislation, fighting it, being the point person for a lot of people in my community who are definitely committed to living here, but to making sure that kids wouldn't have asthma and that they would feel safe. Well, what happened is we did do it, and with the help of a lot of folks, we changed the business model, and now we have the cleanest ports in the world, we have economic development, and we have big air quality, clean air quality. So I'm here to say we can do it. We can protect our environment, we can have sustainable jobs, and the role of government is to make sure that we do that, and I'm really glad to be to be a candidate to run for Congress.
Thank you. My name is Gary DeLong. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for all of you coming out. Thank you to the neighborhood associations for giving Al and I the opportunity to speak to you and share with you our points of view. I'd also like to introduce my wife, Donna, in the back here. Thank you, Donna. I only have 3 minutes, but let me just say that running for office is a team effort, and I couldn't do it without the full support of my lovely wife, and I appreciate everything that you do, so thank you, dear. You know, I'm running for Congress for a number of reasons. First of all, you're going to find, I think, that Al and I agree on a lot of things. We might disagree on perhaps in some approaches you get there, but I think overall we're going to have a lot of the same ideas. I, too, am a strong supporter of the environment. I had a similar experience as his when I walked the district, particularly in Bluff Park in 2005 when I was first elected to the city council. I also noticed that soot was on the windowsills. And quickly became aware that we needed to do more to Port of Long Beach. And in fact, in the last 6 years, while I've been a council member, we have done more to reduce emissions at the Port of Long Beach than at any time in the port's history. Now, I didn't do that single-handedly, let me be clear about that. We've had a great group of port commissioners, great staff over there, great activists in the community that push us along. But in the last 6 years, we've had tremendous achievements. I'm also a strong supporter of water quality. When I took office, Alameda Bay was mostly D's and F's on the regular Heal the Bay reports. Colorado Lagoon, the D's and F's for probably decades, a very long time. For 50 years, it's been referred as a polio pit. Now, we get A's and B's in the city of Long Beach in those bodies of waters. It's tremendous. And again, those aren't things that you do individually. The Friends of Colorado Lagoon did a wonderful job kicking off that Colorado Lagoon cleanup project. Our state senator here, Alan, was one of the first people to arrange for funding to kick that project off, so it's been a team effort for many years, but I can tell you it's also been a very top priority for me to continue moving in that direction. I am very concerned about the direction of our country. I'll bet you every person in this room is as well, or you wouldn't be here tonight. I don't think we're heading in the right direction. $16 trillion in national debt. We've created more, not we, them, in Washington, have created more debt in the last 2 years than the first 200 years of our country. Donna and I, we have daughters that range from college to kindergarten. I think about the oldest one that's going to graduate from college in a year from now. What are her economic opportunities? I know what mine were, and I put myself through school. My parents didn't have the financial wherewithal to do so. I had a small amount of student debt. When I had an opportunity, I could work hard. I could go up the corporate ladder. I could go in my own small business. I could make things happen. I was a hard worker. I still am, but opportunity was there. We need to do that again in our country. We need to turn things around. We need to make sure we have opportunities, not just for our kids that are graduating from college, but everybody that's either looking for a job or is underemployed. We need to create those opportunities. And those are the things that I will fight for. And be a representative, and thank you again for being here this evening.
Just
just a reminder, deciding their phones, it's really difficult when the candidates trying to answer the question, they get interrupted with a phone buzz, and the rooms are train of thought. And also, even though your question may not be asked and answered this evening, I'm sure the candidates will stay behind just a few minutes afterwards, and if not, you can certainly get some information and reach out to the candidates individually. Both of these gentlemen remain very accessible in their campaigns. So the first question does go to party platform, and it's about whether or not you, as individual candidates on each side of the aisle, support your party's platform. And if not, what specifically do you not appreciate or support? And specifically, what items of the platform do you appreciate and support?
Okay, my turn to go first?
Yes.
Please?
Yeah.
You know, I support many things in the Republican platform. I disagree with many things in the platform. I'm not running to represent their platform. There's somebody asked me a question today, well, so-and-so endorsed me, and I point out, that's right, they endorsed me, I didn't endorse them. They endorsed my campaign. Let me see if I can come up with a few examples. That one won't be all inclusive, and perhaps we'll get to that with some additional questions. I support gay marriage. That's something that's not part of the Republican platform. I am pro-choice. That's something that's not part of the Republican platform. But I think probably the biggest thing that I disagree with is I disagree, this is both parties, but clearly my party on the R, is that they're not doing a good enough job building consensus, compromising, and collaborating. When people say, well, what's your number one problem with the Paul Ryan budget? And I think there's many good things with the Paul Ryan budget. What's your number one thing? The number one thing is it's not a bipartisan budget. That's the biggest problem. So what would they have had to trade away or compromise or seek some consensus on? Because to me, a budget that's partisan, regardless of which party it is a worthless budget. We need a budget where we are all pulling together. Another example I'll give you is the Patient Affordability Act. I disagree with the Republican position that it should be repealed. That train has left the station. You may not like it, or you may. That train has left the station. Let's not bicker about whether it should have happened, and it happened at night, and this, and no one read the bill. That's in the past. Let's move forward. How do you make it better? What do you like about it? What can we agree on? Can we agree that it makes sense to be able to cover your kids that are 26? Can we agree it makes sense to cover and not discriminate based on a pre-existing condition? I mean, can't we find some agreement on some of these things? There's going to be things we disagree on as well, and we need to work on those and see if we can't find some middle ground, some compromise. I think tort reform should be part of it. I think a large cost in our medical system is the expensive cost of frivolous lawsuits. We have a good rule, a good legislation in California with MICRA. We need something similar like that at the federal level. There's many things that we can do. But I would tell you one thing that we do need to do together is we need to make it more affordable. The current legislation, the one problem, I'd say, well, the biggest problem I have with it, I'm very concerned. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says it's going to add $1.8 trillion to healthcare costs. I'm very concerned about that. I think this should be a way. We need to work together. I'm not going to tell you myself or my party has all the answers, but I think we need to work together to figure out how to fix that. How do we improve accessibility? I think we all want that. How do we make healthcare more affordable? I think we all want that. And how do we make it so that it's something that we're all agreed upon that we're going to either maintain and hopefully improve the quality of care? I think those are the three things that hopefully every single person in this room wants. How do we work together to make it happen? Sure, I've got some ideas, but the best ideas are the ones we work together to come up with. And that's the kind of person that you'll find me to be. Get them to do that.
Thank you.
Can you do me a favor, please, and speak up? You got some people in the back. If you'd like to stand.
Yes. Question was, do I stand by the party platform, the Democratic Party platform, which I do stand by the Democratic Party platform? Do I oppose the Republican platform, which I do oppose the Republican platform? Republican, let's be real clear, the Republican platform, and if my opponent is elected, that means that those that propose and support the Republican platform, Mr. Bonner, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Cantor, they will be stronger. That's what will happen. By electing me, you're not just electing someone who supports the Democratic platform, who supports gay rights, who supports marriage equality, but someone who has fought for 25 years, who introduced the first legislation in Long Beach to promote gay marriage. He was out there on the streets fighting for it, who is out there on the streets fighting to make sure that there's no discrimination in our schools, who fought for affordable health care, who fought for single-payer insurance in California. That's who I am. And so let's be real clear, you vote for me, you vote for the party that supports that. You do not vote for someone else who may be, and I really agree with you, and I understand where Barry is coming from, but he is still running as Republican and will be one more vote for the Republican leadership. And they do not support the things that touch our lives here in California. They are way out of line with how we live our lives and the openness and the support that we have for each other in California. So I'm a person that has a record. You know what you see is what you get. I've been fighting for you for years and years, and I will continue to fight.
Please, we'd appreciate it if you hold your applause until they're done speaking. So like, it was great. So if we can let them finish speaking before you do that, I'd appreciate it. You're 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. Well, I said Alan and I don't agree on everything. I disagree with him. I'm a maverick. I don't go to follow the leadership. They want to go to the right. I'm going to want to go to the left. You elect me to be your representative, that's exactly what you elect. You're electing me to be your representative. You're not electing me to be a speaker's representative. I would tell you you'd be better off with me in Congress. Regardless of whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, decline to state independent, you are better off with me representing you. Because I'm not going to follow leadership. I'm going to follow where you think that we need to go. I'm going to push back. Rather than have, I'll just say one more Democrat following their leadership, I'm going to be the guy that brings them to the middle. I'm going to say, why would we do that? That doesn't make sense to me. And let me see if I'll give you one quick example. I was on a conference call with a congressman a couple months ago. He's giving an update on legislative. He talks about this bill that passed on a partisan vote. We went to Q&A 15 minutes later. I said, let me just ask him. I said, I'm curious. What would it have taken to make that a bipartisan? That's right. He says, pregnant pause. And I'm thinking, he's a very nice man. I've met him. He's a very good guy, a doctor. And I'm thinking, he was thinking, well, we never thought of that. We need to think of those things.
Thank you. I have a record of being really independent. That's who I am. In 2001, after the redistricting, when I saw that what happened in the state of California was that we did not create districts that reflected communities of interest, but the self-interest of both the Republicans and the Democratic Party, I joined together and formed with one of the founding members of the bipartisan caucus, brought members together, and I introduced the legislation to create an independent redistricting commission to take it out of the hands of elected officials. I alone did that. I couldn't get a second when I first started that, as people know. I fought for it for years to have an independent. Both Republicans and Democrats fought against me when I wanted to do that. I have a record of standing up and being independent. I am going to do what's best for the citizens of this district, and I'm going to continue to fight for you.
Next question. How do you intend to rebuild the declining infrastructure with a decreased tax base?
You're talking about how are we going to go to Congress, both of us, and how are we going to support a declining infrastructure? Remember I started and I said we need a balanced approach. The President of the United States has put out the American Jobs Act. The American Jobs Act, which could not come out of the House of Representatives because they did not support it, said that there would be more money for infrastructure. That's what it said. It said invest in our infrastructure. And that infrastructure is not only physical infrastructure, it's personal infrastructure. It's teachers, it's firefighters, it's police, it's building bridges, it's repairing roads. That's what we should do. I worked real hard in the legislature to make sure that we brought infrastructure. I was the chair of the Transportation Committee. I wrote much of the bond act that the people of California supported, the $19 billion for infrastructure that the government should do. I also, in that, fought to make sure that we build a courthouse here. I made sure I wrote the legislation to create a public-private partnership. You look in downtown Long Beach at the major projects, there's a courthouse.